Right, okay, so greetings, fellow captains, and welcome back to quite an interesting video, in all fairness. I think it is anyway. So, Wargaming have just announced they've called it balance overdue. Um, but in all fairness, basically they're addressing a whole host of balance changes to the game that are overdue. Hence their title. So the TLDR version, for those of you who don't particularly care too much, Concealment Mod for more battleships. Kid gets defensive AA fire. Nagato's getting buffed. Azuma's getting buffed. Italian battleships are getting buffed. Italian premium cruisers are finally going to get the SAP shells to test, and the Weimars being made tier 7. So, okay, so these balance changes aren't coming soon, or really soon, in a couple of months. Like, what is a couple of months? Is that 2 months? Is that 3 months? Like, they don't actually stipulate, but these changes are coming. We haven't had balance changes in a hot minute. We haven't had balance changes for a while, in all fairness. Um, and we're set to introduce them in a couple of months. However, because of how drastic these changes are, they wanted to give everyone some advanced notice. So first of all, for all higher tier battleships, Concealment Mod will now be available from tier 6 to legendary. We don't expect the meta to shift much, but perhaps you can come up with more creative builds. What this means, right, is basically you can get rid of flammable cannoneer. You're not going to need that range because you're going to be able to get in a lot closer, and that has a big chance of shifting the HE spamming meta. Like they don't directly do anything about the HE spam. I'm working on a video on that, but honestly, it's quite complicated and an absolute pain to record when we don't have training rooms. So I might just do a sort of low grade explanation video. But yeah, essentially, you can. This should actually shift. I think it should shift the meta more than they think. But it all depends on how many people adopt it. I think 90% of captains are still going to run flammable cannoneer, and they're still going to get burnt down, and they're still going to complain. So, the kit is going to get an extra consumable for defensive AA, which can be used in place of engine boost. The number of aircraft carriers at higher tiers are slowly growing, so the aircraft carriers are getting more popular. Whether you like it or not, unfortunately, they're here to stay. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. Nagato is getting a buff, but they're not going to buff the accuracy. What they're actually doing is reducing the reload by 3 seconds, so from 32 to 29. They're also buffing the maximum AP shell damage by 500. This may look more effective than it actually is, but we're sure the ship will fall in line better with her immediate rivals. The Nagato, the Amagi need some love too, but they're not going to give the Amagi love by the looks of it, unfortunately. I think the problem is people who like the Amagi, the handful of people who play it are very good in the Amagi, because it does take some particular focus to be particularly good in it, and what that means is its damage numbers still look good, where in general terms it's definitely needs a bit of a buff. So anyway, continuing on the Battleship Fiesta, we're also touching up the Italians. The Carvor's main gun reload is going to be dropped by 3 seconds from 30 to 27. And so does this stat for a big sister, the Doria. So the Doria is getting a 3-second buff. The Virito Vento receives a quicker gun reload as well. 31 seconds instead of 34. So basically taking 3 seconds off all the Italian battleships. And if you thought we forgot about the Roma, we didn't. While she isn't losing to anyone significantly, a small overhaul was due. Roma gets some of the Vento perks, including HE with a maximum damage of 5,800 instead of 5,001, and a smoke generator in a third slot, plus the plane and enhanced secondary targeting consumable word salad consumables moved into slot 4. The overreaching theme is Italian battleships. Will dish out a bit more damage as their other vitals look quite healthy. So yeah, they're quite tanky, but yeah, the damage seems to be a little bit slightly on the lackluster side. So hopefully that'll fix it. It doesn't stop there for the Italians, and here's perhaps the best slice of pizza so far. Okay, bizarre word in wargaming, but whatever. We are ready to begin the SAP public testing by adding SAP modules to the following premium cruisers. So Gorizia, Duca di Costa, Genovia, and our good old firm favourite, the Abruzzi. So I think what this is going to be is like, like you get the torp modules where you can change the types of torps, like we recently had with the Ashan. Obviously, check out my little cheeky live stream on that if you haven't already. So yeah, you're going to be able to put SAP. We have no experience with SAP main shells, so they reserve the rights to tweak the shells either way. The module with SAP are optional and replace HE shells when installed, so you still have the choice between SAP and AP. And finally, the biggest and most controversial, honestly, I don't think this is particularly controversial. I think this is actually genuinely quite fair and balanced. The infamous Weimar is getting moved up to tier 7. So it's tier 6 currently. It's getting up. It is true the cruiser turned out to be significantly stronger than we imagined, and while she started going down in her win rate and damage numbers due to the amount of players adopting her, it seems there's no way around. They need to cull the power. As it stands, she fits nearly perfectly in tier 7, and the only thing that would change would be her economics. Understandably, you will have questions and comments about whether you can exchange your ships, and we will reveal our strategy for dealing with any Weimars that become unwanted once we move closer to the fact. Obviously, if she's suddenly too weak, they're quite happy to give her some buffs and get it powered up a little bit more. Thanks for reading. Happy theory crafting and turn the tides. So yeah, honestly, I think the Weimar might struggle a bit up against legendaries, but honestly, the SAP shells come into the Italian cruisers, I think is by far the biggest news, and probably in all fairness could have been a video entirely by itself. And we all know how much I love the Abruzzi, and in all fairness, I actually legitimately can't wait to try out the SAP on it. SAP is, on PC, it's sort of synonymous for being really good. You can really dish out quite a lot of damage quite quickly with it. So yeah, it might make some of these, like the Duca di Costa, I love it in its current form, so I don't think I'd bother putting SAP on that. Gorizia, yeah, that could probably do with SAP. And Genovia, that's the one with like the 20-second reload. I think I played that like 4 times. So that's kind of irrelevant for us anyway. Right, okay. Well, in all fairness, I've not really got a whole lot else to say on the subject. Curious to see what they do with unwanted Weimars. In all fairness, I think it's really good. They don't need to. I think legally they don't need to give you an option to exchange it or get rid of it or have doubloons back or anything like that. So the fact that they're looking into that as well is actually quite good. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for stopping by. If you want to discuss any of these, obviously drop a comment below and we can have a chat post video. And until next time, take care.